Roundtable. So this is a series of webinars that we're planning over the coming weeks to really give an opportunity to experts and employers to discuss different topics around wellbeing and have some interactive sessions. So our topic today is gaining the nutrition advantage with your contract caterer. And that's something that we have come across a lot in the work that we do in corporate nutrition. So both from the catering perspective and also from the client perspective, to discuss how they can really make a difference to employee health through the catering offering. And it's something that can have an immediate effect, so it can be very useful to have a strategy. So today I'm interviewing Aileen Smith. Hello, Aileen.
Hi, Angela.
And Aileen really has a wealth of experience in the area of contract catering. So Aileen used to run her own contract catering business for many years and then retrained as a nutritionist. And Aileen is now our Super Wellness Associate in the North, working as a corporate nutritionist and also a catering consultant for the whole of the UK. So Aileen really has the full view, both from the catering side of things and the nutrition and wellbeing side of things. So really nice to have you here on this discussion, Aileen. Can you perhaps tell us a little bit more about your story and how you went from contract catering into the world of wellbeing?
Yes, yeah, of course. Thanks very much for having me here, first of all. My background was in contract catering, really, as you know, from I left college. I went to catering college and worked pretty much in contract catering throughout my career, culminating in me having my own business for about 10 years. And during particularly that 10-year period, I worked sort of a 24/7 lifestyle, and proverbial burnout happened, and so I started looking at self-help ways of making myself better, and nutrition came into that. And at the same time, there was quite a lot of changes going on in the contract catering world with regards to introducing healthier foods. So we embraced that, and then during that period, we decided to sell our business. And after I sold the business, I'd really got hooked on nutrition, and that led me to training to be a nutritional therapist. Yeah, it's the usual story, isn't it? It's, some kind of ill health, you discover the light, and then you move into nutrition. And a bit like yourself, I ran private practice and still do for a few years, and then discovered that there was really a need within the corporate world for nutrition, and that's what brought me to working with Super Wellness, which is a really important part of the work I do. So it's a bit like coming home, really, bringing my old life together with my new life. And
that's right. You come full circle, but with so much more.
And really, I think the thing that I enjoy about it is that I can see it from everybody's point of view, and I think, deep inside me, I'm still a caterer, but, I see it from a healthy perspective now. And I really like to help clients, customers, and the catering teams make a difference.
Yeah, and it's really like two worlds colliding, isn't it? Sometimes what's going on behind the scenes for the catering company and doing the drivers for the employers, sometimes it's two completely different sets.
It can be, yeah.
So it's bringing it all together. So we talk a lot about the nutrition gap and really the difference between, the habits that people are implementing every day and that they're able to with the pressures of work, and how they would be feeling if they were eating, a perfect diet every day, and the energy that they'd be feeling. So really, how can catering companies and employers identify that gap? Where can they start to identify, what improvements can be made?
Yeah, well, for me, the nutrition gap is really finding a way to solve your well-being problems. And often employers don't think about nutrition as being a sort of magic ingredient to help that. So I think the starting point is really understanding what the well-being objectives are of the business and what problems you're trying to solve, and then thinking from a nutritional point of view. And that's probably where a nutrition expert comes in to help you say, well, this is how we solve that problem. And then looking at doing an audit of your facility and the catering service, really from beginning to end. So I like to think of it as a golden thread, starting with, you know, how your contract's set up, to what food you buy, how it's prepared, how it ends up on the plate, who sells it, who's encouraging the customers to buy it. So auditing all of those different steps and processes and how it's received by the customer, and then identifying if there's any gaps, where's the shortfall. And, you know, sometimes there are simple things that can be addressed, and other times it's really identifying, you know, what could we add as enhancing the service to try and help resolve the nutritional problem, to make a difference to people's health and well-being. And I think, you know, then once you've done that, it's just really thinking about asking your people on site, you know, what is it they want, what their desires are. You know, we know from, you know, the work we do at Silpa Wellness, when we ask the people who are employed, they tell you all sorts of things about what their health struggles are and what would help them make a difference. So marrying all of those things up together can give you a real direction and what gap it is you're trying to fill and what you should do first to be able to help people.
Yeah, and we know that involving people right from the start and asking for their input is really helpful in getting that engagement. You can never impose healthy food or any wellbeing initiative really on people.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many different aspects that you can work on that's, you know, can make a huge difference.
Yeah. So what are these things that the catering company and the employer can implement then to really bridge that gap?
Well, often it can be things like training the catering staff and involving them in whatever the wellbeing initiatives are of the business, because they can often generate ideas and help you promote things with your employees. So, you know, they're the sort of frontline ambassadors, I like to think. And if you're in a situation where the catering staff have a good relationship with the customers, then, you know, they're almost like their friends and they'll suggest things. Sometimes those relationships aren't quite so good, so that's, you know, a little bit more challenging. But, you know, there are lots of different ways that we can enhance customer service and
that
give
trust
them.
Is really important, isn't it, when it comes to talking about, you know, the health side and the benefits of different foods.
Yeah, and you know, examples where we've worked and brought the catering team as part of the nutrition challenges that we've run, then they're doing it alongside the workforce, and people, you know, see them as just another person in the organisation, but somebody who can actually make some changes for them and help them along the way. So, you know, it can be all sorts of different ways. So it could be the catering staff that you train. It might be looking at things that you do with shift workers. And even if you can't afford to provide a catering service with shift workers, maybe it's helping them decide what to bring to work to eat. You know, that can be an area that you can help them with. And also thinking that the catering team can help people choose what to eat while they're at work and what to eat while they're at home too. And, you know, you can have a sort of a ripple effect from that point of view as well. And then there might be other things you can do, like looking at what suppliers you use and how you cook food. So there's lots of, you know, not seemingly obvious things that you can do, but it's really just looking for those gaps and thinking, well, what can I do that will make a difference?
And you don't have to overhaul the catering offering, do you? Like you said, it could just be changing the way certain foods are cooked or displayed.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think it's really important to meet people where they are and meet the customers where they are, as well as the catering staff, and look for the simple things that you can make changes with. You know, we do that all the time as nutritionists. You know, everybody's wanting a magic bullet, so we have to try and find easy ways to help them make a change, don't we?
And often the restaurant's just a good place to promote the health benefits of food, or to have a promotional event, because people will be congregating there
Yeah, yeah, it's a meeting place, and yeah, people are more relaxed and hopefully receptive to different things there.
Yeah, for sure. And so, in initiatives like this, what would be the pitfalls then for employers to look out for?
Well, I think one of the things is to not make any major changes without having undertaken some research to begin with. So sometimes people will, they'll decide, the caterer will have a meeting with the client officer and they'll make these great big decisions, and they might miss out the fact that the customer base actually doesn't want it. So I think to do a little bit of what I would call light research, some customer surveys, maybe some focus groups, running some trials and tasting sessions, and working out what people really want to buy and how much they're prepared to spend on it before you make any major changes would be really great. Thinking about the financial consequences of making a change. So, there's no doubt about it that, you've got to really think about all the stakeholders in any change. So you've got to think about the contract catering company, the operational team, the on-site people making the food, serving the food. You've got to think about the customers. You've got to think about the budget holder of the company. So all of these people have got their own requirements, and you've got to be able to make sure that you can address that and make sure everybody's happy. So often, we make changes without thinking about the financial consequences. So for very good reasons, we might be encouraging people not to buy things from the vending machines, but the profit that we make in the vending machines actually allows us to pay for the staff. So, those kind of things have got to be taken into account. But if you can sort of like flip that, and that's where it's really important to get the buy-in of maybe the more senior teams in the business, it's thinking, well, actually, if we sold less of those types of foods, our customer base and our employees would be healthier, and maybe we would make savings somewhere else in the wellbeing budget or the occupational health budget, and that could be used to offset it. So I think having an open and honest dialogue about those kind of things up front is really important, and not just to go off and have sort of a knee-jerk reaction without thinking of the sort of consequences. I think some of the other pitfalls, I suppose, to avoid would be remembering to have joined up thinking. So, if you are running a wellbeing initiative or you're promoting something as a company, remember to do that at the same time as your catering team's going to be doing something to support you, and, have that kind of conversation, so you're not doing things that have a sort of a push me pull you effect and have an effect on the customer base. And then I think finally, just thinking about, a lot of people do think like good awareness campaigns, so very conscious of marketing materials and educational material, and maybe holding wellness days or wellness weeks, but they forget about the consistency of having those offers available all the time, thinking about how you help people change habits and how you educate them. And it's those kind of things that will give you the results, which ultimately all feed back into that big wellbeing objective. So not just do awareness, I would say, make sure that you do something that happens every single day that's going to be supporting people in making those changes.
Yeah, that go beyond inspiration and help for people to really make.
Yeah, I mean, we're all great at inspiration, aren't we? But it's putting it into practice that is challenging, and that's what people struggle with. So yeah, we need to focus on that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. That's great. Well, I think that really wraps up the interview part of today. So we'll open up to some questions we've had a few more guests join us.
Oh, great.
Online. So any questions or observations anyone would like to make?
Do people need to unmute themselves?
Oh yeah, maybe Still on mute. In the meantime, I have got a few questions that people have sent who weren't able to attend today. So I'll maybe start with one of those questions. So we had a question. Our caterer tries out healthy choices, but say they don't sell and there's wastage. So what can we do to encourage the customers?
Well, I suppose we sort of slightly answered that earlier on, but I think do a bit of research and find out, is it the price that's putting people off, or is it the food itself? Sometimes you find that, particularly in traditional based areas, you've got a traditional customer base. They might not have tried the healthier foods that you're offering. So that can be, I was doing a workshop just last week, and it was with an engineering team, and they just we were giving them tasters of food, and they were like, "Oh, I've never had this before," and they were a bit surprised that it tasted okay. So asking people to part with the hard cash when they've never tasted something, that can be just a simple way of thinking, well, before I do roll this out and spend hundreds of pounds on food to sell, I'm actually going to do some little trials and tasters. That might be quite good. And also think about how the food's presented, and is it, in the eye line of people? Do they know it's on offer? So don't just jump straight in, I would say, and don't be put off when things don't sell the first time. Sometimes it takes a while to change, and that's why it's better to do things in small steps. So it might be that if you're doing something new, you want to do a pre-order system, so that if only 10 people buy it, that's all you've got to prepare, and you're not going to have a lot of wastage. So think of things like that would probably help you make the changes without having a lot of cost.
Yeah, I'm also thinking messaging and education around the benefits of the foods, because we see so often, don't we, that when it makes sense to people and they understand the benefits of eating a certain food, then they will want to eat it, even though it might take a bit of time.
And sometimes, there are people that are bringing their own food because they think the caterers won't provide what they'd like. So if that's the group that you're trying to capture, it's like, tell them in advance, we're trying to do something different. Would you give it a go for a day and see, get some feedback from them?
And we know it takes so much iteration, don't we, to promote something and get the message out there. It takes a lot of repetition and time.
It does, yeah. Somebody said to me recently about selling. It's the same in catering. It's like, don't do lots of different things thousands of times. Do a few things 1,000 times, and then people start getting used to the idea that that's what you're going to do.
I need to try that more.
Yeah.
Myself. So we have another question, which is, we have a global contract for catering, and the on-site catering manager says he can't change anything. So it's really frustrating. How can I influence healthy choices?
Yeah, well, this is something that I think is quite common. The big contract caterers are sort of specialists in rolling out these global contracts, and companies are attracted to that because they can make good savings, and they can also get consistent levels of service. So they really want to make sure that whoever they employ at all their different sites gets the same level of service. But with that comes some constraints. So it means that the catering manager or the chef has to follow almost like a purchasing specification, a contract specification. So it's not easy for them to make changes. And it's something that I've had said to me on occasion, that it's a very frustrating thing frustrating for the caterer as well as the client, because most people go into catering because they want to help people and please people, and suddenly they've got their arms tied behind the back and they can't do that. But I think it's appreciating that there's a system there for a reason, but finding out what is the change process, because there probably will be a process, an amendment contract process that can happen. And so if you're not the person in charge of catering, it's go and speak to that contract manager and find out what the process is and how you can give feedback. And it might be that there's other people in other locations that are feeling the same way. So they will have a process, and it's just getting to know what that is and feeding it up, and then perhaps they will take on board the changes that you're requesting. So I think it's all about communication. It's a little bit slow. It can be a bit slow. And while that is going on, it's like going back to that nutrition gap idea and just thinking, well, what are the quick wins that I can do? And how can I, influence the things that I can influence, rather than trying to swim against the tide. But, instead of just taking that, no, I can't change anything answer, it's investigating it and exploring it a little bit more and find out what differences can be made.
Yeah. And so another question we've had is, we have a wellbeing activities plan for the year, and we're highlighting particular health issues on different dates. So how can we ask our caterer to support us on this?
Yeah, well, I think this is going back to this awareness day thing we were talking about. We've got mental health, or we're promoting diabetes, not getting diabetes or something like that. So what can we do? So I think it's understanding basic things like what nutrients would particularly help that condition, and then thinking about asking the caterer, well, how could you incorporate those nutrients into the dish of the day, for instance, or a snack or something like that. And if that's not possible, maybe doing tasters of something. So it might not be on the main menu, but again, just giving people a chance to taste something different and giving them a suggestion of something they might try at home, maybe a recipe card or something like that, I think would be an easy thing to do. And then it just widens people's knowledge and education. I think that would be the main approach there to take with it.
I think it reminds me of all the times that we've had zinc balls made by the catering provider when we're running a session on mental health, and that's highlighting the benefits of that particular mineral for mental health, and people can taste it. So it's very simple to do, but very effective, isn't it? And everyone likes to taste something. If they're going to an educational workshop, then it's just a sweetener, isn't it? To bring
it does, it attracts people to come and have a chat to you, doesn't it, and find out a little bit more. Definitely.
Absolutely. So, do we have any more questions from any of our guests?
Yes, it's me, Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Hi. So we are at the beginning of our journey with our catering, and I guess so. I wanted to understand. We will be renewing our catering contract sometime in the future. But I just wanted to find out whether the caterers in UK are aware, and whether we can put some clauses in the contract for them to provide this information or tasting sessions and everything else, just to close that gap nutritionally. I work with the group at the moment, and I want to get that visibility to management. But they will be asking me about the return on investment and this and that. There's always cost involved, and also so there's a lot of things going on. And with the current caterer, unfortunately, they're selling what people buy, so loads of chips and loads of jacket potatoes and a lot of these things, but because we can sell it, so they want to make a profit. So there is a bit of a problem and disconnect, I guess. So I think it's a lot of, as you said, this education going on as well, that people want to eat healthy, but they don't have a choice. They also say it's expensive, but I think the question that really is the problem in how you display the food, how you present, and what knowledge they have on nutrition, and they will be willing to spend a bit more money if the food is better, well presented and all of that, which at the moment is not, unfortunately, the case.
Yeah. Well, you've got a great opportunity, I think, if you're looking at renewing your contract either with the current caterer or with a new caterer, to actually think about what it is you want for the future and to put together maybe a tender specification, saying this is what we would like. And it might just be as simple as, tell us what you can offer. There's lots of different companies out there offering different levels of service, and you know, some of them have got healthy eating policies or health and wellbeing policies. Others might be doing it and they don't actually have a policy in place, but they can explain to you what they're doing. But I think to actually think about what would be important to you with regards to providing that. So thinking about, you know, what kind of supplies you want, how you would prepare the food, how you would train the catering staff, you know, to ask those kind of questions would be useful. And I think, you know, what you said earlier about people being aware of the cost, yeah, people will do what is in front of them, won't they? And yeah, budget is important, but there might be a section of customers who aren't eating in the restaurant or the catering facility, and they might be spending more elsewhere. So giving people choices, I think, is a really important thing to do. But I would definitely undertake a bit of research with all of your customer base and find out where they're eating at the moment and how much they're spending a day, and would they like anything different, and that might inform you about what you want for the future.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we're doing the survey on trying, so I wanted to thank Angela for some of the questions. Yeah, she sent me, but generally we've come up, and I will send you this back to you, maybe you can use it as well, but we've come up with some of the question about the catering, what people would like to see in future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll maybe drop you a line with just some questions you can think about for a specification. But definitely get that as part of your.
That would be brilliant, because I think
even as a pre-tender document, and just see what's out there before you get into, and ask your current caterer as well. You know, say to them, this is a big thing for us going forward. So, you know, can you think about what you can offer us?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to do some pre-qualifications with them, with the caterers, with that aspect. So, but it will take me a bit of a selling in the company, because it's a change and people are not always there.
You have the buy-in from the top, Monica? Are they?
Yeah, that's what I've managed to do, to put forward the idea of changing the canteen, and that gives me visibility with the top management, or what it can be possible. They ask me to keep it simple, but I just will put this in the context and will show them what potentially is possible. And I meet people where they are, that's for sure. But I think nutrition is really important for the overall well-being. It's not only, a lot of things really depends on that, and just want to make them realize that, really. And
if it's the start of a new contract, it's having that long-term view, because the contract's often 3 to 5 years. So
it is 5 years, and that's, people complain a bit, 5 years, so they're putting up the prices, but we can't really see any added value or any change. So why is the price increase in that? So there is a lot of that.
Yeah.
So many stakeholders to take into account.
Yeah, but thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was
great. Thank you for the question. Any other questions? Okay, so I think if there's no more questions, I think we'll wrap up the session. So I'd like to say thank you very much to Aileen, our guest expert, for a really enlightening session. And thank you to all our guests for taking part. It's great to have you. And hopefully we'll see you on another of these webinars in the future. Just to share with you, if you'd like to email Aileen with any questions, her email address is aileen@superwellness.co.uk, or you can connect with Aileen on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, and I'm happy to take an informal call if anybody thinks of anything after today and you want to just have a chat. Just feel free to give me a call.
Brilliant. Thanks, Aileen, and thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.